And I was all like, Ivan, throw me the ketchup, dude. And he all like did, then I squirted it, and there was sauce and blood and guts and bits of nuggies all over the place. It was wicked awesome, bro. I think what my stoner friend is trying to tell you about is the time we saved the world. You probably won't believe it, and I barely do myself. I was there, for crying out loud, and it seems completely crazy. Like most people, you'll shake your head and laugh. But it's a story that needs to be told. For those that gave their lives, and to warn others of what's out there. Unlike my friend here, I'll start from the beginning. Last year, when there was that wild meteor storm in July, my 3 friends, Braz, Ted, Julie, and I all went out to the pasture to watch it. We were planning on watching the sky while taking some bong rips to enhance the experience. I get major munchies, so I made a plate of chicken nuggets for the road and we headed out. We were blazing like the stars in the sky, taking toke after toke and enjoying the light show. Braz brought out his 6-foot bong. We were standing in the bed of the pickup with it on the ground. Braz, the bro he is, was lighting the bowl. After about the 4th hit, most of us were done. Julie went into the field to lay down. Braz, Ted, and I stayed in the bed of the truck. It was amazing. The sky looked like it was on fire with all the meteors streaming across the Milky Way. Everywhere you looked up, brilliant white streaks poured through the night. At that point, I grabbed my nuggets from the cab and put them on the roof of the truck. Braz had talked Ted into lighting the bowl for him for another hit, and I could hear the sound of water percolating behind me. It wasn't long after it started that Julie said,
"What the hell? Guys, did you see that light? I think something crashed over there."
"You're just high, dude, and saw my lighter from the corner of your eye."
No, it was a blue flash, not a yellow one.
"We would have heard something. You're tripping," I said. That was the end of that conversation, as we got lost in the light show above us. We were so busy with what was going on in the sky, we must not have noticed anything going on around us. Ted asked me if he could have some of my nuggets. I agreed and absently handed him my plate. About a minute later, he screamed bloody murder. The plate crashed against the metal of the truck bed, and ceramic and nuggies went everywhere. He started to yell about how the nugget had a face. It tried to bite him, he said. Braz told him he was only high and just freaking out. But Ted swore he saw what he saw. Then Julie, who had been down in the grass the whole time, began to scream too. We looked to see what she was upset about, and on a small crest, not even 100 feet from us, there was a long line of tiny oval-shaped objects walking towards us. Some were maybe a foot tall, and others were much smaller. There was a whole army of them. Ted screamed again. This time it was a painful, drawn-out howl. I about shit my pants when I saw 2 small nugget-like objects. One crawling up his body. The other had bitten to his thigh and tore out a chunk of skin bigger than a fist. Their flesh was a golden brown and had ridges all over. Their eyes were blood-red dots about the size of a pinhead. Ted was trying in vain to shake them off, but they had tiny claws and short, stubby appendages. There was a red trail up Ted's body, left behind by the blood from the razor-sharp talons. Both Braz and I stood there dumbfounded and in shock. Julie was frantic and ran off in the opposite direction of the small army that was approaching. I tried to help Ted, but when I got close, one of the creatures turned to me, and with a mouth that opened up bigger than 3 times its body, it showed me the sharpest row of teeth I have ever seen. There was no way to get close to help him. The one that was climbing Ted's body reached his neck and took a huge chunk out of it. Ted stopped screaming, fell backwards out of the truck, landed on the bong which smashed into a million pieces and went limp. Braz and I looked at each other and then ran after Julie. There was an old barn out in the field. We both figured that Julie would have gone into there, so we went in. Inside was pitch black, save for the silver streams of light from the moon and the flashes of white from the meteor shower that intruded through the wooden slats and an open hayloft door up top. "Julie," I said. "Julie, are you in there?" There was no answer but a small whimper, and a sniffle could be heard from the back of the building. On a post by the door was an old kerosene lamp which fortunately had some fuel left in it. We lit the lamp and weaved our way through bales of hay. In the far back corner, behind a large stack of hay, we found her, huddled up, knees to her chest, tears forming in her eyes.
Oh my god, what the hell are they?
"Killer nuggies from space, Julie. Killer nuggies from space." "I don't care what they are. You and I both saw them, Braz. They ate Ted in 4 bites. Their mouths, man, their mouths are huge. Way bigger than earthly possible. I'm too high for this, dude. I say we get back to your house and call the National Guard, man. Let them deal with it. This is some third encounters bullshit, dude.
That's even if we can get back to his place before more of them get here. We don't even know how many of them there are.
Well, I say... There was a bump on the barn door. Julie squealed, then another thump. Soon, there were hundreds of bumps and bangs all around the building. Up into the loft, I said. The three of us went up and looked out of the hay door. There were hundreds of killer chicken nuggets all around us. The big ones were running into the door and walls, looking for a weak spot. On a beam in the loft, there were a few pitchforks. We grabbed them as they were our only means of defense. Hay bales were used to block the stairs. Since there was no way out, we had to fight. No sooner had we finished with what preparations we could make than a breach in the wall formed on the lower level. Wave after wave of nuggets roared into the barn. Ear-splitting, high-pitched battle cries rang out in the night. My mouth went dry, well, drier, and every cell in my body was alive for the fight. They stormed up the stairs with a look of blood in their beady little eyes. Julie must have snapped because, with a scream, she leapt on top of the hay bale that was blocking the stairs and started stabbing at the nuggets like a wild woman. They didn't stop. They just kept coming, walking over the pile of the ones that had already died. A few of them managed to grab her ankles and began to bite them. She toppled off of the hay bale into the swarm below and was devoured in seconds. Braz and I ran to the hayloft door and looked down. Swarms below us, swarms in the loft with us. There was nowhere to go. We dropped our pitchforks and embraced each other in what we thought was our final moments as bros. Then, as if out of nowhere, we heard a car horn blaring in the distance. Lights crested a ridgeline, and the roar of an engine revved closer. It was a monster truck with a light bar on the roof and tires the size of a small car. It must have been lifted over a foot, and it mowed down Nuggie after Nuggie on its way to the barn. The ones in the loft with us retreated back down the stairs to reinforce their comrades. The truck continued on its course right into the barn doors and crashed through. We heard a voice from the truck tell us to hop in, and without hesitation, we did so. The truck went wildly in reverse and then sped off through the countryside again. "There are Nuggies on the side, dude!" Braz said while he banged on the sliding glass window in the back. It flew open and 2 ketchup squirt bottles were hurled in back with us. They were filled with a glowing green substance that looked familiar, but I couldn't place. "Use them," the voice in the truck said. We picked up the bottles and pointed what we hoped was the right end towards the nuggets and squeezed. Out came a stream of the green liquid, and when it made contact with the alien Nuggies, they exploded in a tiny pop. Once we were a safe distance away from the horde, the vehicle came to an abrupt stop. We hopped out, eager to meet our savior. The man who stepped out was a living caricature. He had a square jaw, his blonde hair was in a flat top, and he wore shades at night. He was easily 6 foot tall or more, and bound in muscle, which was hard not to notice in his tank top and skin-tight blue jeans. He looked like if Dolph Lundgren and Duke Nukem had had a baby. I ran up to shake his hand. "Hey, I'm Dave, and this here is Don, but we call him Braz." He stood there and said nothing. I followed up with, "And you are?" "I am Ivan. Ivan pissed off." "So, you're angry?" "Niet. But you're pissed off." "Da." Ivan explained to us how he was part of a secret Russian team sent to defeat the killer Nuggies from space. This wasn't the first time they had dealt with them. The Russians had fought them back in 2013 when the Chelyabinsk meteor crashed. It was actually a spaceship, and these Nuggies had proven to be aggressive and violent. They had been tracking the spaceship that had landed that night for a while, but when they told the US government about it, they were laughed at, with no other choice but to send Ivan, who was a vet at fighting these things, on a secret mission to protect Earth. It was by pure luck he made it there in time to save us. He also explained that their main weakness was irradiated ketchup, something about how it interfered with their cellular cohesion or something. Neither Braz nor I fully understood that part. Lastly, he asked us to go back with them, that we had to exterminate this threat right there before they could spread out and reproduce. Julie's and Ted's memory were still fresh with us, and we were itching for revenge. With this guy by our side, we figured our chances were good. Ivan handed us utility belts armed to the teeth with green ketchup, and he even had a few ketchup grenades. Geared up and somewhat more sober by now, we jumped in the truck and headed back to the fight. We found the army of aliens not far off from where we had last encountered them. Ivan tore through their group while Braz and I squirted everything in sight. Every Nuggie touched by the ketchup exploded in a puff of smoke. They tried to get into the truck, but Ivan would pull donuts and shake them off, or we would shoot them on sight. Bits of Nuggies flew through the air, their screams were like music to our ears. What was once a mighty army was eliminated to a few stragglers that were easy to mop up. By the time we were finished, we were near the barn again. Ivan got out and thanked us for our service. He was about to get back into his truck when we heard something different, something more terrifying than we had previously experienced. It sounded like a war trumpet attached to a stack of Marshall amplifiers. Wood from the barn burst into pieces, splinters flew past our face. Out of the dust and chaos of what was left of the barn rose the biggest dinosaur chicken nugget I had ever seen. A T-Rex well over 20 feet tall and almost as wide as the barn was. It was a massive abomination of biblical proportions. Ivan yelled at us to get back inside the truck as he put the pedal to the metal and peeled out of there. From what I could understand through his thick accent was that since Julie hadn't used the special ketchup to kill the Nuggies she had, they were able to reform into a massive monster of destruction. Ivan told us to search the back for some more ketchup to attack the dinosaur with, but we had used all he had on the original army. He then reached under the seat and pulled out 2 gallons of chocolate milk. He was hoping it wouldn't have to come to this, but this would be the only other way to defeat them. Unfortunately, they had to digest the milk. Irradiated chocolate milk? I asked. Niet, whole milk. Clog arteries. Chocolate for flavor, Ivan said. Braz took the wheel as Ivan climbed outside the truck into the back. He hurled 1 gallon at the monster, who only batted it aside. We were doing 70 miles per hour when we saw the lights of the town come up on the horizon. Ivan knew what he had to do. He hugged the last gallon of milk to his chest, and with only a look back at us as to say farewell, we could hear him say, "It chalky milk time, Dino Nuggie." He then hurled himself out of the truck and into the mouth of the Titan chasing us. It gobbled him whole and continued after us for a moment before the dinosaur stopped and then began to shake violently. Flames erupted from every inch of its golden brown skin, then burst with a deafening bang that sent debris and chunk of flesh everywhere. Braz stopped the truck, and we both breathed a sigh of relief before rushing back on foot to try and find any remains of Ivan. There was nothing left, however, and soon, even the chunks of dinosaur vaporized into wisps of smoke. We told the cops about what happened. Naturally, none of them believed us. Julie and Ted are classified as missing persons. We were under suspicion for a while, but lack of evidence meant there was nothing they could charge us with. The Russian government denies any involvement with any incident concerning killer Nuggies from space, and Braz and I had to move from our hometown once we became laughing stocks. It's been a rough year, and we're not asking much, just that someone listen to our story so the memories of those that have passed on may live. And if you see us out and about sometime, maybe buy us a beer for saving the world.